So let's begin the session. I welcome you all to this webinar for content marketing and its role in email. So just a brief introduction about myself. My name is Rishabh Garg. I work in Policy Bazaar currently as a business head, and I head the entire post booking business for them, which includes renewals, communication. In communication, I look into the entire email journey for the customer, sales and service, and also the app journey, the mobile app journey for the customer in terms of communication. This is my broad current work experience. And previously I was working with Google. In Google, I was a product specialist for mobile, video, and display. So for all these three platforms, I was leading the new product features as well as enhancements in the current features. About my training experience, I have been working as a trainer, you can call me a part-time trainer, or a very enthusiastic person who likes to talk to people and train people. So I've been doing this for over 4 years now, and my key areas are I take trainings in email, in content. I do a lot of AdWords related trainings and app marketing related trainings, basically mobile related stuff I do. So before we begin the webinar, I just want to tell you that this is a very open-ended webinar. So I'll continue with the workflow, I'll continue with the slides and keep speaking. But anywhere you have questions, please keep posting the questions on the questions panel. And I'll, after 20-25 minutes, I'll just take a logical break and try and answer those questions. And anyways, if I miss any of those, we have enough time at the end of the webinar to take most of the questions that we have, right? So let's begin the webinar about content marketing and its role in email. So let's talk about the agenda, what we have today with us. So we'll discuss about what is content marketing and how it is driving the consumer behavior. What exactly different businesses are doing and what they need to do further. We'll look at certain examples. And again, as the agenda is around email marketing, we'll see what kind of role it plays in email marketing. How are companies, let's say, using content to their advantage in email communication? So if I start talking about just content, so what comes to your mind when you think of content? So content can be anything. Content can be whatever, as a business, what you have on your website, or what articles you write. It can be your blog you're trying to reach. It can be your social media accounts. All this is content that you are serving to users, and it is there for public consumption. So how the user behavior has changed over a period of time, that you will observe that people are, when they look at your content, they just don't look at your ads. So for them, something has to be some kind of a value. It has to be entertaining, and it can be knowledgeable as well. So if this kind of mix is there, and then your brand is promoted through it, then it makes more sense for the customer. So one thing, again, the biggest myth which is associated with content is video. So content is not only about video. I agree, and I can be very sure that yes, video is a very important part of your content marketing. You need to, it will be great if you have a very engaging video which has gone viral. People are sharing left, right, center on social media platforms, on YouTube, everywhere they are doing it, on WhatsApp. That is a very important thing to have, and if you are able to crack it, nothing like it. But your content doesn't end and start with just creating a video. It's much, much more than that. So, and even when you're planning your content strategies, so just a second, yeah. So even when you're planning for your content strategies, your idea behind your planning should be that you should think about content first and viral should come second. So in your strategy meetings in your business, it should not be that, okay, let's plan a viral video. You never start like that. How you start with it, you think about what your users want, what kind of things they are more engaging with, be it platforms, be it different kind of media behavior, what they want. And then you talk about what can be the most interesting thing that you can tell them. Those kind of things, if you start getting in place, and then if you get all the elements right, and you promote your video well, you test it well, you reach out to the right people. If you do these kind of things, then yes, your video has the potential of becoming a viral video, not the other way around, right? So let's look at some stats from the industry before we go further into it. That what are in the past, how important is the content and what are the numbers saying? Because again, anything which holds importance in terms of industry, you need to see, okay, what difference it is making to the industry or what kind of thing that they are doing. So it's very important. So in a recent survey for all the top CEOs, in fact, top CMOs, it was learned that more and more marketers, they're trying to get original content on board. So their focus is that the content should be in-house. You should build your own content. You should not just get a licensed content or get a copyrighted content and then post it. So those kind of things people are discouraging. Even 70% marketers are backing and putting in resources to get their original content. And this takes us to our next very important stat, which is hiring of a content strategist. So again, when you think of this profile or this job role of content strategist, a content strategist is not a person who is a person who is very good in graphics or who designs things well. He's not. He can be. I mean, if he is, then it's an add-on. But content strategist is a person who can plan your content well, who understand your business well, who understand your consumers well, and can go ahead and plan your strategy or the entire content strategy well. And again, in terms of year-on-year content increase, if you see compared to last year, this year we have seen that almost 80% more marketers are creating more content. So this is a strategy that is which is working. Actually, I was talking about the importance of content, and I was just talking about some stats which are important for the entire content marketing space. So we just talked about brief stats about. I'll just quickly repeat it. One is original content, like how more and more marketers are getting original content. Profile of content strategists, like how more and more companies are hiring more content strategists for their content planning and delivery. And again, year on year, what kind of increase has been there in terms of marketing creating more content compared to previous year, like their original content. So let's discuss about certain content goals that marketers are trying to chase. So one is, again, if you find some value in a certain proposition, you can further enhance on that value by putting more money into it. So 25% marketers, again, and it's a big number, considering they are putting over for 50% of budget for content. 50% is a huge number if you consider like the rest of the money that they have to spend is in promotion, etc. for that content as well. So creating content has become such an important part of your marketing portfolio that you are spending almost 50%, and even the rest of the 75% are spending as high as 20 to 30% of their total budget. So what are the different types of goals they are trying to chase? So most of the marketers, what they are looking at, they are looking at the lifetime value of a consumer. So when you create a good content and you get a good response from it, you get a customer who is a very long-term customer. So if you are able to get conversions from your great content, what automatically happens is that your brand recognition goes up. The person who is using your product trusts you more, and even if in that cycle you make a mistake or you're not able to reach that level of satisfaction, the person is ready to give you a chance. So that is again a very important thing. Usually in current consumer space, the kind of brands we have in every segment, it's very difficult to get a second chance. But if you have acquired your customer by giving in some awesome content and you have truly delighted the customer, then in those cases you get a second chance as well. Also in terms of ROI, marketers are looking at very high ROIs from their good content. So from their usual marketing activities, compared to the usual marketing activities, they are looking at around 2.5x kind of an ROI from their content. So what is the top priority when it comes to content marketing? What are the different kinds of priorities that they are trying to assign? But again, as we discussed, is preparing the top content. So how do you get the best content possible in your industry? So that is the very important priority, and content can be anything. It can be, and yes, we will discuss some of the formats as well going forward. So in every communication with the customer, how best you are trying to deliver. Your messaging should be top notch. That is the first priority. The second thing is, how are you assessing the buyer behavior? So I'll just do a before and after. So earlier, like in general marketing scenarios, 10 years back, even let's say 5 years back, when you try to understand, when a marketer tried to understand the buyer persona, it was mostly so you get to understand the consumer so that you can position your product well. You can create your product well and position it well. That was the only idea behind it. Now, when you understand the buyer behavior, it's much more than that. So today you look at the platforms. You look at, okay, majority of my customers, what are they using? Are they using mobile? Are they using tablet? Are they more active on, let's say, desktop? What are the different kinds of medium they are using? And again, very critical point, what time of day they are active on these devices so that my message can reach them at a very relevant time. What kind of communication they prefer? Do they like email communication? Do they prefer SMSs more? Do they like app notifications more? So these kind of studies, you understand your consumer more so that you can deliver your best content at the right time and the right place. So those kind of things. And again, in the current scenario, if you talk to any of the, let's say, if you reach out to any of the marketing heads of any organization, things like native content, like which is again related to original content, content publishing, earned owned media, these kind of terms are finding much more relevance with the customer, with the marketers these days. And these kind of things have become a regular discussion points within their meetings and general chats. So in terms of value that a great content marketing effort brings for you, it brings you free media. So what is free media? So let's say you have a certain amount of users on your, let's say, Instagram or your Pinterest, etc. So when you post great content which reaches out to a certain level of users, so let's say you have 10,000 users and you have posted a certain content for their consumption. So now what happens is that, imagine out of those 10,000, there's a chance that maybe 2,000, 3,000 might like your content. And there can be some similar users who might like your content as well. So when these people like it and they further share it and they try and tell more people about it through social media only or even word of mouth. So what you get is you reach out to your new users without any acquisition cost. So there is no cost associated with it, but you are exposed to a bigger set of users. So, and again, to make these things sound very good. So again, you create great content, you reach out to your users, and then they further share. It's a best case scenario. So to make this scenario happen, it's very important that your content strategy is aligned with your business strategy. So when you're planning your content, you should see what kind of business goals you have. So once, and again, it cannot be your content cannot work in a silo compared to your business. So you can create a great content, but if it does not relate to your business strategy, then it might fall flat. So people might get entertained, people might get happy, but as far as value is concerned, they might not see the value in your business compared to your content. So that is the gap you need to fill. And again, when I mentioned things like content strategists and head of content, these kind of people who should be there in your organizations on a full-time role, not just that, okay, I'm handling content as well. So when you have those kind of people in your organization, they do this job of keeping the business and the communication part together. So let's discuss about what kind of different platforms that you can use. So again, as I discussed when I explained the content with respect to the viral part of it, I'll again use this similar kind of an example that you should not plan your content depending upon the platform. Platforms are there. Yes, certain platforms entertain only similar one type of content, but your ideal content strategy should be that you plan your content and then you choose, okay, which format should go well depending upon again your users, etc. So it should not be otherwise. So let me give you an example. Let's say you create a very good contest. Let's say a contest which will make sense for your users, and it has great prices associated with it, and you know that people will respond to it if you share with them in a right way. So if you share it with them on Facebook or Twitter, and if you have decent number of users and people are, again, it's good enough to be shared across and people participating in it, then it will get traction on both the platforms. It's just that your communication on Facebook will slightly be different. For example, you might use an image with your for the content in your post. On Twitter, it will be more or less a tweet, which will have the link for the contest, or even on Twitter, you through your hashtags, you're trying to play a certain contest. So the messaging will change a bit, but the inherent contest will remain the same. So the planning and the strategizing of what contest or what quiz or what that kind of a user activity that I want to promote will make sense. That strategy should be top notch. Are you able to? I mean, I'm sure you're able to differentiate between what I'm coming from where I'm coming from. So your content should be, your priority should be to get a great content and then think about your platforms. So, and there is if you don't do that, there is a risk that, for let's say you have a team who is handling only Facebook content, and you have a team who is handling Twitter content, or let's say email content, or your videos on YouTube, and you have different people assigned to it. So there's a chance that you are sharing very good content on all four, 5, or 10 mediums, but if they are not talking to each other, if it's not coherent, so then it has a very high risk of falling flat. It might do your business more harm than good. So it's very important that they talk to each other, they have a similar strategy, and people are aligned, and not based on platforms but based on the content. So is having, again, taking forward the discussion which I just started on the how your different content should talk to each other. So how do you manage your entire content? So you have a content team who's creating good content for you, good blogs, good posts, everything going good, you have very good content. But if you're not managing your content well, then again, there can be a challenge there for you. So one part of management is that for the entire year, you plan your events. That, okay, in January, I have a product launch. In February, I want to launch a new campaign. I'm adding a new product feature in, let's say, March. And in April, I'm going with a big TV campaign, which I want to create a buzz about. So these kind of events that you lay out for the year. And again, sometimes it's difficult for an organization, especially if it's a startup or if it's not a very old organization, that and even for the new organization, because sometimes your events are not very well planned. But at least you should have some kind of a idea, okay, what you are looking for, at least in a quarter. That in a quarter I want to do these 3-4 things, and for this I'll require this content. And for this content, then what will be my promotional mediums, how I'll use all of these contents and make it work well together. So this helps you in 2 ways. One is, obviously, you are using your content, you're creating and using your content well. That is, again, your efforts which have gone into creating your content is not going waste because you have not used it well. That is the first thing. Second thing is your ultimate goal, which is like what was your initial goal? Your initial goal was that you have a business goal of promoting your product well. So if you have used your content well, if you have used the right platforms, then there's a very high chance that you will reach that goal of promoting your product, of launching, creating maximum buzz on a launch day, adding a new feature, and so on and so forth. So those kind of things will take care of themselves if these initial things are being taken care of. So moving on, let's discuss again the table that you can see on the slide. This is a very exhaustive list of content that is possible. And again, some of these contents, you might be surprised that they are part of content strategy. For example, FAQs. Yes, it is a very important part of your content strategy because somebody like, let's say, industry like insurance, right? So there will be a lot of customers who will visit your website. And let's say if you're an insurance aggregator or an insurance a company, then there's a chance that a complex product, let's say like a pension plan, which is a complex product, not very familiar with the users, something like a normal term plan, then people will look to see, okay, what kind of questions people have asked and what are the kind of things I can get from them. So FAQs becomes a very important part for that industry. So this is again, as I said, it's a very exhaustive list, but it's not something which is, which is not, this is not something which will be used by every industry. So depending upon the industry, depending upon what consumer segment you target to, some of these content formats will be very, very relevant for you, and some obviously you can ignore. If, for example, for an let's say for a company like for a B2C company which let's say which is selling candies to its customer, a case study based approach might not make sense, right? So those kind of content you can avoid. So that is one thing. And in all of this content, again, let me bring email into this right here, because this is again mostly about the email and how it is very, very important. So email is an integral part for all these formats. Reason being, email does two things for you. One is that it acts as a format. You can use email newsletters, your email updates, your service emails, like what is happening with your transaction, etc., for with your customer. But very importantly, this email as a format, it acts as a distributor for your of all other formats. Because let's say you have created a very good video or you have posted an awesome blog. Email is one thing that whenever a customer signs up, or even most of your marketing activities in terms of getting your customer on your website, so there is a sign up page, etc. So email is one thing that you ask from a customer. So you can, whenever you create a great content or something, you can reach to your customer using email. And again, we will discuss specifically about its role of email in the coming slides. So let me discuss few formats which are mentioned here and how you can use it. So let's discuss about case study. So case study can be a very, very relevant format for a B2B business. So let's say I'm a company who is selling computers to different businesses, and I'm trying to attract. So I can do a case study of how, let's say, my high quality systems did wonder for a company in terms of increasing their their output, in terms of how people found their systems very, very helpful in terms of using it and how their productivity went up. So those kind of case studies you can use in a B2B business. Something like a webinar. So let's say you are trying to tell your consumers about something which you want to come up with, or you also want some kind of feedback. Okay, what best can be done? So you can directly get them on board, talk to them, and webinar is again a very, very like easy tool to do that. You can directly reach out to your customer. You can take their feedback and talk to them. So Savita has a question that blog articles is not in the list. So blog and article is a very important part, and they are in the list. So when I mention something like, let's say, articles and white papers, even vlog, which is a video blog, so these are part of that blog ecosystem. So you post your articles in a blog or something, or directly on a website. So again, yes, blog is part of is a very important part of your customer communication, and is definitely a part of a list. So yeah, moving on, email newsletter. So compared to the period, let's say 5 years back, 10 years back, email newsletters have been revolutionized. So now you see very, very engaging email newsletters. People are using different formats. People are mixing image with text. They're using videos. They are using different kind of sign-up forms and stuff. So they're doing a lot of innovations in the newsletter space as well. One very good format is infographic. So infographic is something which you can use for a very good comparison. So it makes for a very good viewing. So let's say if you, as a company, if you want to compare yourself with a different company for a different product, so in one infographic, you can give a very good picture. So it becomes a very useful format for such a kind of transaction. And even if you want to show a journey, just want to tell your user that, okay, this is the user journey, how it happens so you can create a beautiful infographic and then use it. Videos, again, as the myth is around that content is about videos. But again, video is a very important strategy. So your YouTube channel, your video that you circulate on web is a critical part of your content strategy. And if and you should not create video just for the sake of creating it. And okay, everybody's doing it, so I'll also create a video. So that should not be the plan. Ideally, you should create videos. It can be user-generated videos or feedback-related videos. Or if you have resources, then obviously you can invest in more in creating high-quality videos. But yes, if you have those videos in your portfolio, if you use them well, they have the potential to give you unimaginable users. Again, and I use unimaginable because if they are good, the extent that they can go viral is nobody can guess. It's out of the world. Right? Moving on, some formats like surveys, polls, quizzes is a very engaging part of your entire user journey. So let's say you take a survey, you reach out to the user, you after his usage, you sent a survey. So it gets a certain credibility. It adds a certain credibility to your brand. It's like that, okay, you are valuing the user opinion, you are asking for the feedback, and something like a poll. Let's say you reach out to a user, you say that, okay, you have been chosen out of a certain group, and you're a very important part of our thing. We want your opinion on this particular thing. So the user feels delighted about it, that yes, the company is valuing me for something, so I should maybe participate in and tell the user about it. And again, engagement, things like contests, quizzes, all again part of content formats which can be used. And coming back on one thing which I said about user-generated content, which I brought in the video part. So yes, user-generated content is very important, because once you, let's say, there is I'll give you an example of a Facebook response or a Twitter response. You have reached out, you have put a brilliant Facebook post, and user comments on it. So there are systems in place today that whenever a user responds on your Facebook post or gives you a direct message on Twitter, that your backend can make a ticket out of it. So when I say ticket, it is like something like when a user comes at your website, gives you a feedback, and you receive it in the backend. So then your top organization can track it. And over a period of time, if you, let's say, if you're able to find that there is a certain level, there are certain users who are giving you very good advice or who are posting good things about you, and even your critics, they're criticizing you on very relevant points, then you can maybe collate those kind of responses, put them on social media, that these are the things that our users are talking about. So the users who have posted them, they'll feel very, very delighted that yes, a company values my opinions, they actually went into it, looked at it, and then they are even trying to tell other people that these kind of opinions make sense for us. So these are different ways of using user-generated content. Yeah, so Chetan Salvi has a question that what are the other content formats than email? Chetan, we just discussed about, as you can see on my screen, if you are able to see my screen, we have given you a list of the exhaustive list of the content format that are available. And email is, again, as I said, email is an integral part of communication because it is a format, as well as you can distribute your formats. Distribute your format using it. Sunkari Litesh has asked a question: what is this webinar use and how should we work? Okay, so again, as I said at the beginning, this webinar is about content marketing, about what are the different types of content marketing, what is important in the entire business scenario, and how email makes sense for it. And there's a follow-up question from Sunkari Litesh, that how will you earn money? So again, for your business, as I explained, the business usage and criticality of for the business of creating great content, and again we'll talk about the email as well. So this will in a way, it will help your business grow. So it is, again, whatever you are doing for your business, for your product, so your content is as important as your current product that you're focusing on. So if you get your content right along with a great product, you will add unimaginable value, as I said. So having a great content is inherent for the entire lifetime value of the consumer. You are adding a lot of value. So yeah. So let me move on, and I promise I'll take all the questions which you guys are posting. Thank you so much for posting all the questions. So let's just move on. to some of the examples that, so just a fact here that on Twitter, if you tweet with an image, you get more retweets and as high as 150% more retweets than your normal tweets which are without image or which are just a text. So compelling images on social media, it finds a good connect. As they say that okay, image is worth 1,000 words. So again, a good image, a compelling image, leaves a much better impression in the minds of consumer. So let's take this an example from Amex. In Amex, again, if you just go to the Amex account, Amex Facebook account, you will find that they are masters in creating good content, and the kind of images they use, and you can see the example on the right, that the kind of illustrations and comics that they use. So they try and pitch their product in a way that visually it becomes very, very appealing. So once it becomes visually appealing, then obviously user will try and see, okay, what kind of features are there with this American Express Platinum card. But again, using images give an enhanced advantage to Amex. Yeah. So one another example for content marketing is when brands create content keeping in mind the cause marketing. So let's say if I'm a brand, I associate myself with a good cause. So even in the past, it used to happen that a brand will associate themselves with a good cause, a cause which is relevant for the users and will find a good connect. But now what is happening is they associate with a good cause and they create good content around it. So it's just not limited to just promoting those activities like tying up with an NGO or something, but actually doing it in a way which will find certain connect with the users. So we'll take an example of Whole Foods. So what they did was that they linked themselves with the cause of food and environmental issues. And what they did was they created certain films, and which are real films that they created. So their entire focus was on to create very, very good films. So engaging films, good films. So now, first thing that user is doing is user is watching those films and getting happy about it and enjoying those films. Second thing, what user is doing is user is feeling good about the cause. These are two things that user is doing at the moment. Now the third inherent advantage that adds to both of these things is that when Whole Foods is associated with these two things, which has made user happy, then what happens is user feels good about Whole Foods as well. So if Whole Foods makes sense for the user as far as the requirements are, it's a very high chance that there'll be an emotional connect of Whole Foods with that user. So that is the kind of advantage that they can get. But again, as an organization, their focus was on getting a good cause, associating themselves with a good cause, and creating something which user will like. Not because it is created by Whole Foods, but generally because of the cause and because of the content. If people like that, Whole Foods will get advantage from it. So this is how thinking should be. So now let's see what are the different kinds of media strategies that are in place currently for your content. So I'm sure you would have heard all these three terms. I'll just explain what role of content each media has. So one is paid media, earned media, and owned media. So when we start our discussion with paid media, so as the name suggests, it's just everything you spend your money on. So let's say you give money to a TV channel, you put money there, you open a Google AdWords account, you start your search marketing, you display marketing, you pay money to Google to put your videos on YouTube. So anything you are spending your money on to reach out to your prospective users are all parts of paid media. Now paid media becomes critical because you are spending your money, and again it's your marketing money, very hard-earned money, or maybe your investors' money, which you want returns on. So in terms of content, it becomes important that you put your great content across your paid media efforts. So if your content is weak, no matter how much money you spend on your print or television or your search marketing, your messaging will fall through. So that's the reason that when you are spending your money, your content should be great. And apart from the content, yes, your media mix should be right so that you are reaching out to the right user, and again at the right time, which I explained earlier as well, that why the time is very important when you reach out to a user. So in all these cases, again, so your content should be top notch when you are spending your money on something. It should be tested. It should be, you should have relevant focus group discussions. You should have ample feedbacks from your users, from your employees or whatever, whoever is part of your ecosystem, that okay, we are getting out this content to the public and spending money on it. Does it make sense? So that is one thing. Next thing is own media. So what is an own media? Own media is anything that you own. Again, so it can be your website, it can be your own social media accounts, it can be whatever you publish in your blogs. Let's say again your YouTube account or your Instagram accounts. These are your, whatever you post on it, it's your content. So now, again, going back to the content part of it, so this is something which a user experiences with you. So when a user, and again, this is something which you have spent money on. So you have spent money on paid media. Now, after spending that money on paid media, you have got your users on own media. So if this own media, your website, your blogs, or your social media, if the content on these things are not great, then whatever you have spent in your paid media efforts will not give you desired results. So it's very important that these formats, I mean, these kind of content are taken care of, because this is your first interaction with the user. So again, if we see the user journey, that you have reached out to a user through, let's say, a TV ad, user likes your ad, likes the entire story around it, and he visits your, let's say, website or blog or even your social media page. But if he or she is not impressed by that, then again, it doesn't make it. It will affect your great the initial exercise of creating great content will be of no use. So again, so content on this stage is also very important. So you cannot just neglect it. Okay, once I have spent money on my TV and stuff and on my search, and I've created great content around it. So again, users will buy my product, etc. So you cannot take those things for granted. Now, your efforts in your paid and your own media gives you earned media. So earned media, as I said, it's a free media. So your efforts which have gone on to creating very good content for your paid media, putting excellent websites and excellent content for your social media accounts and your YouTube accounts, everything gives you fruits in earned media. So if people like your content, they will share it. So they will give you users which you are not aware of. So your exposure to your new users depend on your efforts on your paid and owned media. So again, be it your word of mouth activity, be it consumer activity like liking your things, commenting on it, sharing across. So those kind of things become part of your journey. And again, as I said, these kind of things, this is a place for fans of your brand, also for your critics. So you will get very relevant suggestions. You might get clickbacks, you might be abused as well, which happens on social media these days. But you have to take everything, because again, as a business, you cannot just admire your fans and ignore your critics. You cannot just afford doing that, and specifically on the social media. Okay. So again, let's come on to the hero of the segment, which is email marketing. So what role that email marketing plays, and again in the webinar I touched upon few points. I'll just elaborate on them as I go along. So email, again, as I discussed, email acts as a content distributor. So you might have had a very good Facebook post. You have a very good blog that you have created, very informative, useful for the brand. You can use email as a distributor for all your segments. The reason I say as a distributor is because even when your lead is created, by lead I mean that customer has shown some interest, or even let's say you have reached out to, you have done certain activity and you are able to get the user's email ID. So email is something that gives you reach at a very low cost. So again, you can argue that television also gives me very good reach, right? Yes, it does. But email is something which is more personal to a consumer. It's more one-on-one conversation with a consumer. and it is again at a very low cost. So your acquired customers as well as your potential customers, you can reach out to them through email, and you can tell them, let's say if there are some dormant users who are not visiting your website, or they are not visiting your social media page, so they're not aware, okay, what is happening with your overall content. So if something you have created which is very relevant for them, they might just miss that because they are not active. But email is something they are active most likely on, so they are checking their emails on a daily basis, especially on mobile. So you can reach out that, okay, you have come up with a very good video, you have come up with a very good, let's say, blog through email, and can redirect your users to that part of content. Apart from that, testing your campaigns is also you can do using email. So let's say you have created you want to go ahead with a campaign, and you want to spend a lot of marketing dollars on that campaign. But testing becomes a very important part. So one form of testing is you do a focus group discussion, which your agency has brought some relevant people, and you show them your campaign and take their views. This is one thing, which is again a very slightly high on cost and less on number of feedbacks. One is that you actually reach out to a specific set of users, which are some of your users which are your repeat users, because somebody who is your repeat user will give you very genuine feedback. So you can reach out to them through email, you can ask them their opinion about the campaign and see their honest opinion, and be as subjective as possible. You can just write, okay, these are the things I like, these are the things you can change, and try to incorporate them, because again, those are the people who are your repeat users, who are the ones who are giving you maximum business, and their opinion counts. And again, if they are interacting with you on a regular basis, then again, it gives you a certain kind of a window for the new user, that okay, what kind of thing my new user will be doing. So email helps you doing that, because again, the low cost thing comes into play, the one-on-one conversation thing comes into play, and yes, you get a prompt feedback. You can start the campaign today, send it out, and wait for response for 3-4 days, and then take a call on how to incorporate the feedback and what changes you want to make. So this can help you in at least weeding out, removing the bad campaigns you might be about to launch, which will hurt you in terms of money as well as reputation. Next thing is content format. Yes, email is a very high in terms of very good content format in its own. So you can create very good newsletters, your welcome mails, your timing of messages. For example, your any of your ad might not be able to reach a user when he's hungry, right? And you are, let's say, in a business of delivery, you are delivering food to a consumer, and you send an email somewhere around 12 to 2 that there's a great offer on this particular type of food for your lunch. So that is a well-timed message. So again, these kind of things, and can be very personal in nature as well for your user. And from a marketer point of view, ROI becomes a very important part, right? So, and among all the formats that you have, email has the potential to provide the best ROI. In fact, the recent studies have shown that for every dollar spent on email, you get an ROI of around $40 from the consumers. So this is, again, it's not a mean figure; it's a very high figure. So if you compare any other platform, nobody will even come close to this kind of an ROI. So yes, it becomes, for business, for your return on investment, it becomes very important. So that's why, because of these reasons, it's important that your content promotion professionals who are handling your content, they take your email business very seriously. So email should not be just a poor cousin to your overall media strategy and handled by with not utmost care, but you should be very, very focused around your email business. And I'll give you a small example of how, like, if you lack focus in your emails, then you might result in even losing a current customer. So let's say, I'll take an example from insurance, that if you are from the insurance industry, and you have a person who has bought insurance from you, and insurance doesn't stop at once the user makes a payment. In fact, there's a much bigger process after user makes a payment. So once the user has made a payment, the entire cycle of the insurance papers going to the underwriter, then people talking about, then underwriter giving additional requirements of medicals or documents, and then finally those kind of things happening, and then issuance, and then again sending out your hard copies and soft copies for that. So it's a very long process. And once user has paid money, you need to keep the user informed. And these things take time sometimes. For example, maybe your medical has been done, but the report is pending, or report is done, but underwriter is taking some time. So you need to keep your user informed, because at any point of time, if the user feels that I'm not sufficiently informed, I'm not sure what is happening with my insurance that I bought, he might cancel it. So you might lose a consumer that you have spent money on to acquire, and you're finally convinced through your sales force, you finally managed to convince that user that yes, this product makes sense for you, pay money for it. And after doing all that, if you lose that user, it is again a big blow for your business. So you don't want that. And for those kind of service challenges, email becomes very important, because you can reach out to, you can put, again, there are tools in place these days where you can put, for every stage, you can put an auto notification that when this stage happens, a certain communication goes out to the user. And even if the stage is not happening, for example, let's say medicals happened, but report is pending. So, and if it has taken more than 3 days, so you send a mail to the user, yes, the process is on and we are looking into it. It gives a reassurance to a user that yes, the process is on and they have communicated to me, so I don't have to worry. So those kind of things, again, these small things add a lot of value to your entire user journey and overall consumer experience. One last thing about email is that email acts as your content meeting point. So when I say content meeting point is, so just take into account your different media accounts. Let's say you set up a YouTube account, you set up a Facebook account, Twitter account. So one thing that ties all of them together is your email. So you give your email and then you sign up into the Facebook. So these kind of things are meeting points. And sometimes for an organization, getting the contact details of a consumer is a very important thing. So even in the search marketing, if I just deviate a bit and talk about search marketing, something your user action is that what you want from your user is sometimes from your search marketing efforts is that the consumer just fills the sign up form. It gives his name, gives his email ID, phone number, and that's it. So that's a conversion for you sometimes, because you want to engage the user further, and this is your starting point. So for all your content, and even let's say a blog, for blog, you want your user to provide his email ID and give his permission so that you can send the latest articles on your blog to a user. So email becomes important there as well. And again, notifying people, especially people who are very engaged on your different platforms, you can notify them through emails. So let's say if I have posted a comment on it, so what is my currency as a user if I post a comment on a brand's post? So my currency is what, as a user, I'll feel good about is if somebody likes that post, and if somebody comments on my post or something like that. So, and I might not have the time to see what I posted, what happened to it. If I get a email from a brand that okay, a summary of sort that 20 people liked your comment, 10 people commented on it, that kind of summary will make me feel better. Yes, I mean they value me. Again, a very small thing, but yes. And again, growing subscribers organically is a key goal for most organizations. So how it helps is when you grow your subscribers organically, this gives you a certain idea that you have a permission from them to send emails to them. So a lot of people have user action defined specifically for this goal. So it is a goal in itself to increase, to get more emails, to get permission from the user that yes, send me an email and include me in your communication. So in that respect, also email becomes a very important point for your content. So in our email marketing course, which is starting on August 29th, and I'll welcome you all to register into it. So we'll focus on content specifically for email and in general as well, that what kind of content will make sense, and we'll see what kind of different tools and techniques are available to have great content on board. So again, we'll see, we'll take up different types of formats. In email specifically, we'll see newsletters, how you can create very good newsletters. And in email, there are different segments. For example, your subject line, how how the content of subject line is important and what best can be done. What things can be done for a sign-up form, again, email body as a whole, and in different mix and matches of text and images and videos, and what more you can do with your formats. So all that part we have almost 1.5 sessions devoted specifically to content specific, because again, as I said, again, for the 100th time I'm mentioning that content is very, very important for your overall marketing efforts. So let me just get to some of the questions that I have. Let me just scroll through them and take them. So Anandraj S has asked, are there any free tools to create infographic? Yes, I can suggest you one tool, which is Creately. So it is creat.ly. You can search on Google if my spelling is wrong. And they have again, they have a certain template. They have certain templates which are free, and certain you have to pay for. So if your work, if you're able to get maximum for your work from the free templates, then nothing like that. But yes, their paid services are also very good, and I'm sure if infographics are useful for you as a business, you will not regret paying them for doing it. Praveen Kumar has asked a question. I think this question is about more about the content formats we discussed. That case studies is missing. So no, actually case studies was mentioned there, and it was, if I'm not wrong, it was 4th in the order. So this again, this slides will be shared with you. You can again go back, and I had a discussion on case studies as well. I'll just repeat the example that how case study is important. So I took an example of a B2B business wherein, let's say, you're trying to sell computers. So you can do a case study of how your computers helped a certain organization improve their productivity. So those kind of case studies you can do and try and reach out to your prospective consumers. So yes, case study is an important part of the format. So there's a question from Himanshu G. The question is, what should I focus on more if I want all organic followers? So yes, see, you should focus. There are different things that you should focus on. So getting your content right is the first thing. So when you and again, you've asked a very relevant question, because in this world wherein the time span is short and the delivery has to be, people want the delivery to be very high. So there's a temptation for the business to go for the paid followers, to get a lot of data from telecom and bombard your users with message which might not lead to them. But again, getting the organic followers makes sense because these are relevant users and you can give them a more personalized experience of your messaging. So again, it's a process which takes time. So one very important part in growing your organic followers is patience, because even through email, if you're trying to grow your organic followers, it will take time, and it can be a part of your overall journey. So let's say you are doing an offline event, right? You are people who participated in that offline event. You took their contact details and you took their permission to reach out to them. Even in your social media strategy, even in your contact program that you have planned, you should take permission and then try and grow your organic followers. So this is one thing. And again, email, and we have almost half a session devoted in our course for this, that how you can grow organic followers using email. So email should be at the central point of your strategy when you want to grow your organic followers. And trust me, companies which have grown organic followers over a period of time in the past, and they have given certain amount of time, they are getting the fruits of it now, because they have a very strong user base, which they can claim that yes, these are engaged users who have given me permission to reach out to them. Okay? There's again a question from Himanshu Ji: earned media are organic followers? Yes, somebody who is liking your content, who is sharing your content, who is talking about your content is definitely is a part of your organic list. And in fact, in your overall organic list, these are the people who are your fans. These are the people you should like engage as much as possible in your feedbacks, in your surveys, or anything that you do. Even let's say giving them a first dose of your new launch or something. Those kind of first advantages of, because these are the ones people who will do the job for you. There's a question from Sunkhari Litesh that how to find emails, to send emails that you're eager to learn. So again, so we have a entire course devoted for it, and again, what kind of emails that you can send, how you can find your emails, these kind of nuggets, these kind of strategies we have discussed we will be discussing in our course. And I'll advise you, if you can join that course, and again, you will be I can guarantee you will learn the entire thing for sure. In these, Savita Lakshmi has asked a very good question, that in these days of spam restrictions levied on mail reception, how successful can email marketing be? And I think you have just asked a very apt question at that point. See, there are certain spam laws in place, and every marketer should respect those spam laws. And yes, we have a session dedicated for spam laws as well. We will discuss it. I'll just give you a brief gist of it, that your email marketing success depends on how seriously you have put spam laws into your overall area of consideration. So if you have taken spams into consideration, and herein again the content plays an important role. For example, in your subject lines, you should not use words which might take you to spam, because subject line is the first thing that a spam reader locates. And your subject line should talk to your content body. It should not like that you have a very glamorous or a very catchy subject line which talks about something very exciting, and then your email body doesn't do justice to it. So again, these are the kind of candidates for spam. So as a business, yes, there are spam restrictions in place, but if you do write and plan your emails well, then you can, yes, go beyond it. A follow-up question from Savita Lakshmi is there a way to bypass them to put your message through? Yes, as I explained, yes, you can do that. There are a lot of ways there, and we'll discuss in the course as well. There are different methods that you have to employ. In fact, there's no option. You have to do that to make your email program a success. There's a question from Saurabh Sharma. Can you suggest few best tools available for email marketing? Yes, if you want to, let's say if you're a corporate and you want to have I guess you are asking for an email service provider. So yes, there are certain ways. I can give you a few names, like there is MailChimp, there is Aweber. These are the kind of companies that are very good email service providers. But again, there is a process of selecting an email service provider. And again, I'm repeating myself, but we have a session for how to select an email service provider. So how you should go about the pros and cons, your business requirements, and what kind of capability you should look in a particular email service provider. Those kind of things we will discuss, and we'll see. And as a business, you can just list down those steps and keep a check that, okay, these 5 requirements make sense for me, so I'll take this particular email service provider. And there are more than 400 plus email service providers available to choose from. So it's a pretty hectic job to actually figure out that, okay, yes, this one makes sense for me. But if you have your basics in place, that these are the things I'm looking forward to from an email service provider, then it would be slightly easier for you to do that. Sumkhari Litesh has asked a follow-up question: how much course fees? So again, you can visit the Eduteka website. There's a certain discount as well going on for the Independence Day. So you can just it's an 8-session course. So in every session will be of 2 hours, and we'll have assignments, we'll have quizzes in every session. Plus there'll be a project, and you'll get and if you do the project well, you'll get a certificate as well for email marketing completion. So you can visit Eduteka website, and you'll get the entire details. So just in the interest of time, so we have just short the time. So I would like to stop here, and I'll once again like to thank you so much. For joining this session, for being with me, and for listening to me, for asking these very, very good questions. One last request from my side will be that you will receive, once you exit this webinar, you will receive a feedback link, a survey, where you can provide your feedback about the platform and about me as an instructor. And please give your honest opinion. Please write whatever you think are the points of improvement, and what are the things you want us to improve, and we will certainly try to do a better job next time. Just before I finish, I have Shubhra, last question I have from Shubhra. So which type of subject line we should use to make receive, click and open? And And you have asked a very open-ended, difficult question, Shubhra, I must say. So yes, there are certain, again, it depends on business. So subject lines, so it should not be, I can give you 2-3 quick tips, but these are not the only tips. And we have a content session in the email course for subject line. But yes, you should try, and for some business it works. So it should not be very long. You should try and make it more inquisitive as possible. So when the person looks at a subject line, he should be inspired to open that email. Inspired in a way, he should be more curious to know, okay, what is there in the email. So it should not be, again, it should not be misleading at all. Should not promise moon to the customer that, okay, something great is happening for you if you open this. Those should not be there, but there has to be some kind of a curiosity in that subject line which makes the person opens it. I hope I was able to answer this in these 3-4 lines. But yes, it's a whole process and there are a lot of steps in it, how best you can write your subject lines. Okay, thank you so much, guys, once again, and have a very good evening. Have a great weekend. Thank you.